However, awards and publicity have never been part of Chuck Noll's personal game plan for success.
He grew up on the east side of Cleveland, the son of a butcher, a young man whose modest goal in life was to get an education. Football was a means to that end for Charles Henry Noll. Football took him to Dayton College and finally to the Cleveland Browns, where he worked as one of Paul Brown's messenger guards for 7 NFL seasons.
When I went to Cleveland, they had a real good line. But when I would go through the line, I would run into the back of Chuck Noll, who's the coach of the Steelers right now. Chuck was a little guard at the time, and Chuck was downfield chug-a-lugging. I just accelerated, hit him in his back, knocked him down, and kept going. So I came back, I said, Chuck, I said, now, if you're not going to hump and get out the way, then just fall on the ground.
The messenger guard got the message and moved into coaching, where he worked a decade as an NFL assistant. Then in 1969, he took over the worst team in pro football.
We used to get together weekly and sort of agonize over why we were so bad. You know, what is the problem here? And Chuck Noll finally took over, and he said, I've watched the films for 3 months, and I want you guys to know why you've been losing. And, you know, we all just were, you could hear a pin drop. I mean, we've been waiting for this. You know, why? And he said, it's because very few of you can play football. I mean, this is what the man told him. It was incredible. And he was right. He said, and I'll tell you what, he said, I'm going to keep about 5 of you, and the rest of you are gone. And 2 years later, there were 5 of us.
We had a collection of guys that were either playing out the string, and their whole interest was collecting a paycheck, and we didn't have singleness of purpose. We didn't have the idea that we wanted to come in there and be the best. Eventually, we were able to put together a group that had that feeling.
Noll used the college draft to replenish his roster. Then he went to work on the practice field, drilling his team on fundamentals and instructing them on proper football technique. In time, he had a team in his own image, long on action and short on BS.
He's never been a pep talk giver. I remember one time we were down playing in the Astrodome, and they're just kicking our butts, so, you know, and we're looking awful. And we had one of the players get up, and he's a very emotional kid, and he had been with us just about 3 or 4 games. And he starts crying and giving this big impassioned plea to us, you know. And I remember Noll said, Lee, shut the up and sit down.
Surprisingly, it was one of Noll's rare pep talks that Pittsburgh's Super Bowl veterans all remember as the turning point in the history of the franchise. It occurred on Monday, December 23rd, 1984, 2 days after the Oakland Raiders rallied to defeat the Miami Dolphins in the AFC playoffs, earning the right to play Pittsburgh in the AFC championship game.
John Madden had said after the game that it was a great football game, and anytime you got the 2 best teams in football playing, you're going to have a great football game. It was a shame that one of them had to lose. And
Chuck came in, and he says, I'll tell you one thing about Oakland. They think they won the Super Bowl yesterday. And the team went crazy. Guys started jumping up and cheering.
And he says, well, I just want you to know, I think the best damn football team is sitting right here in this room. And, you know, that's very strong language for Chuck Noll at that point. He later got, you know, he developed the ability to rattle it off pretty good later on, but that was really out of character for him. And, you know, it was like we got a blessing to go out and beat up on some people, push some people around, and that was all we needed.
The Oakland Raiders fell. The Steelers celebrated their first championship, and the team of the decade was born.
It all went back to that point that Chuck came in and was just with the most determination I've ever seen on a man's face, but with sort of a sly grin on his face when he says, they think they won the damn Super Bowl yesterday. From that point on, the Pittsburgh Steelers became the best team in football.
Over the next 6 seasons, Chuck Noll's Steelers won an unprecedented 4 Super Bowl titles. His roster became a veritable who's who in professional football, a team of flamboyant and highly divergent personalities, famous faces whose reputations extended far beyond the football field. looked on from a distance, for while he had a sharp eye for football talent, he had a disdain for all the media attention his history-making team was attracting.
He believes that it's superfluous. It has no value. It's not functional. It is not substance, and therefore it does not relate to him at all. So he would not use the media in any way. He would just avoid the media. And if the media forces him to respond, he gives them nothing. I mean, I would hate to be a reporter interviewing Chuck Noll because he will not respond.
Keep it against the corn flash. Hey, let's get a shot of Noll.
All right.
Here comes
five.
shot
Give
of
me a
Noll
shot of
now.
Noll. Stand by on 5. Ready, 5. Here we come. All right,
Here's
ready,
Noll.
5. Take 5. We're on Noll.
And they would come away with a poor impression of Noll. And this is one reason why he'd won 3 Super Bowls, or maybe even a 4th too, and broadcasters were still calling him Chuck Knox.
The spotlight belongs to his players. Chuck Noll chooses to remain in the shadows, content to let others ponder the reasons behind his ongoing success.
He knew that he was right whenever he told you something, whether it was on politics, whether it was on economics, whether it was on house construction, whether it was on backpacking or whatever. He always knew the answer. And I think he really believes that.
He's very meticulous and pays close attention to detail when it comes to coaching. He loves to coach. I've seen a lot of head coaches that let their assistant coaches do most of the coaching, but not him. He has to have a part in every single phase of the game.
He's shown in the last few years an ability to be flexible, to take what he has and to work with it and to mold that into the type of football club he thinks is going to be successful in this league.
He's the son of a butcher from the east side of Cleveland, a self-motivated, self-made man whose coaching genius lies in his ability to recognize those same traits in the people he selects for his football team.
If a coach has to stand over him and constantly give him a reason to play, then they're not self-motivated. They don't have that singleness of purpose that we're looking for. They're not the kind that are going to go on and be a championship football team or a part of a championship football team.
With Dan Rather. Stay with us.
In every Walgreens pharmacy, there's an